Do you want a cuppa, Dean? We'll get into this video and I'll let it finish brewing. Rightio. Today I want to have a really quick chat about one of my favourite Snow Peak products, and really one of those ones that it's an iconic product. It's something that Snow Peak's made for a long time, which was some of their titanium. Now, as you can probably tell here, I like it. Most of this is kind of my personal stuff, so it's really good stuff, but everything does a little bit different job, and wanted to go through the differences between everything. I've got to be a bit careful this one here because I've just made a cup of tea. It gets used all the time. That goes with me on just about every trip. So I'm going to start out here with the single walls. So this is a single wall 600. The 450 and the 300 all nest inside. They do rattle a little bit, so I'm just going to take them out and sit them there for comparison's sake. Single wall, folding handle. Now, I have a love-hate relationship with the single walls. The single walls are great. If you're doing some bushcrafting, they're really good because you can cook on this. You can put it on the fire, you can sit it on top of a stove over here. So you can pop it on top of the stove. Thing is, the handle does tend to heat up. So if you're using it on the stove, the flames tend to come around the side, handle heats up, can't hang onto it. Put it on the fire, the same thing. Basically the whole thing gets hot if you're using it on a fire. So good emergency redundancy. And like I said, if you're really into bushcrafting and want to make every single piece of equipment count as far as weight and usability goes, then you tend to go the single wall. The other thing with the single wall is your drinks tend to cool down really quickly. So if you want something that's going to keep your drink hot or cold for longer, typically I use mine for hot drinks, is you want to start looking at the double wall. I'll give you a little bit of a look here. The wall is actually, there's two titanium walls, so they're not quite as light because there's actually two cups that are welded together around the top. It gives you an air gap gives you an insulation. Snow Peak do make some stainless steel vacuum mugs. They have a plastic insert on the bottom where they pull the air out and then convert it into a vacuum. So these aren't vacuum, they are just a straight air gap. Something to note, if you're wanting to use these on a fire, the air inside is going to heat up and split the mug. So exploding mugs are not a good thing. So you can't put these on a fire or a stove. Right, this is the 450 stacking, but they've got no handle. What it enables is it means that you can stack 3 double wall mugs inside each other. Now if you're really bored at your campsite, these also make great. Titanium will last for a very long time, so mine's got a few dings in it. I think this mug is probably going on 7, 8 years old now. Still too hot. Something that finds its way into my bag on every trip. In summary, if you want a mug that you can cook on, you're going to have to go for the single wall. They're a little bit lighter than the double. I tend to think the double wall is a more practical option. For me personally, it's been the best option. Keeps that drink a little bit hotter for longer. The downside is you can't use it on a fire or a stove, so you can't cook on it. Alrighty, let's talk titanium cookware. Snow Peak does a pretty good range of titanium cookware. One of the things that I look at using with this titanium is a fairly narrow burner head as far as a stove goes. If you've got a big wide burner head, some of these really narrow pots, you'll end up with a bit of lost heat coming up around the side. It's not as good as like an integrated cook system like a MSR reactor or something along those lines. But what this has is the advantage is it's much, much lighter. So if you're looking to save weight in a gas system, then take a look at the titanium. Basically it lasts for a very long time. Some of these from mine are probably 10 years old, and you can warp it, so it's not completely indestructible. So what's happened here is I've got it really, really hot and probably put snow or cold water into the bottom and made it pop. I'm going to start with, this is the Trek 700. So of the Trek series, it's the smallest and the lightest. It's been around for a long time. I actually think, and I'd have to confirm, a Nalgene bottle will actually sit inside. I'm going to wander around the shop and I'm going to find a random Nalgene bottle that's probably hanging here somewhere. We'll go green, straight in. This would go really well in a bike fork bag as well, so if you're putting it down on the front forks. So something to bear in mind. Pretty good little system. So the naming for these pots, 700, 900, 1400, does relate directly to their capacity. So, you know, you got 700 mils of maximum capacity. The reality is you're only going to be boiling half a litre at a time. Moving on to the 900. You get a lid, but it can also be used as a bowl or a frying pan. Now, I don't actually know what you'd fry in that. Maybe a single egg, and that's about it. 2 people, sits better on stoves, it's a little bit bigger. It's more approaching that very lightweight billy can. So, pretty awesome piece of kit. 1400, same thing, you get a nice lid that's a bit bigger. You're able to actually use it as a plate or a bowl. Proper pot, it's a billy can. If you're cooking water for 2, 3 people, you could also do a meal, pasta, that sort of thing in it, because it's actually that size. Moving on, I think this is possibly my first Snow Peak set. This is the multi-compact. So what it is, it's 2 pots, 2 lids, all in one. So you've got this larger one with a shallow lid and a smaller one. I've actually warped this one pretty bad. That was a snow trip, definitely. Got too hot, decided to put snow in it, wasn't melting, was just boiling off. Trick with melting snow, which is a lesson learnt for me many years ago, was that you need to make sure you've got a little bit of water left from your water bottle. Otherwise what happens is the steam is boiling off and moving as quick as what you're trying to make it, so the snow's effectively turning to steam and you're not generating any water. So if you've got a little bit of water in the bottom, then your snow will melt. So that's what happened there. This one sits really well on a pot set, and it's practical from a cooking point of view. Going to move back into some lightweight options. We have this, which is the 3-piece personal. So good little solo setup. You've got a little frying pan, and then you've got 2 bowl/pots. They sit on a stove relatively well. This one's probably a little bit narrow for most burners. You're going to end up with a fair bit of heat loss on it, but good bowl size, but does allow you to do some decent cooking in a very lightweight little setup. We then got basically a development of the Trek 700 was the mini solo set. Now this one had been around for a while. This is the updated version that's got the silicone insert in the lid. So what you end up with is a tall narrow pot, so you get a little bit of heat loss around it, but you also end up with a mug. So you end up with basically a titanium mug, but it is graduated on the side so you can see how much water that you're going to put in. It's quite a useful tool. All nests together. Now, this stove set that I've got here from Soto, the 100 gram canister will also go in there, and if you unscrew the stove, it'll also all sit inside that set. So with Snow Peak's titanium cookware range, pick what you think you're going to use capacity-wise and people-wise. You could go something like you going that fast and light, you're going to be looking in the Trek 700 or the mini solo or the 3-piece. If you're looking at multiple people, then Trek 900, 1400 or multi-compact will give you that flexibility and gives you the ability to cook for more than one person at a time. Right, I couldn't help myself when I was pulling out all my titanium from my box. This is the titanium sake bottle. If you want a way of carrying 400 or 500 mils of liquor into the backcountry, this thing is awesome. It's really light, it's beautifully made. This does find its way into my pack pretty regularly, especially when I'm traveling with a group of people. And yeah, it's pretty awesome. A little bit of whiskey at the end of a hard day. Yeah, just perfect.